What happens when one decides to do what is right, even if it puts them in conflict with the system? Sophia, a young surgeon at an elite hospital, was about to discover that her choices could change not only her life but also the lives of others. With a bright future ahead, she felt pressured by her mother and superiors to dedicate herself entirely to her work, leading her to question her own priorities and dreams. On an exhausting night, after a long shift, Sophia encounters a critically ill homeless man, devoid of any hope. His gaze, reflecting pain and despair, touched her heart. Even aware of the hospital's strict rules and the prejudice she would face, she could not ignore the need to help that stranger. The decision to perform the surgery that could save his life would place her on a path of conflict and self-discovery. The environment around her was hostile. Her colleagues saw her as an idealistic fool, and Dr. Edward, the chief physician, would not hesitate to punish any deviation from established norms. The pressure mounted as Sophia felt increasingly alone in her convictions, struggling against the shadow of her own insecurities and the need for approval. Doubt haunted her. Would her determination to help others be worth it? As the tension built, an unexpected turn of events would change everything. The man she saved, Mr. Fabian, revealed a surprising connection to the world Sophia knew. Nathan, his son, an influential executive at the Ministry of Health, would emerge as an unexpected ally, and the truth about Fabian's past would begin to surface, placing Sophia in a crucial position in her life and career. As the story unfolds, the audience would be taken on a journey of overcoming, friendship, and love, where every choice made by Sophia would not only shape her destiny but also reveal profound lessons about empathy, justice, and the true essence of what it means to be human. The pressure in the hospital was palpable. Sophia felt like a wave in a turbulent sea, struggling against the currents that pushed her away from her true self. After the unauthorized surgery on Mr. Fabian, her conscience was filled with doubt. She knew she had broken rules, but the gratitude in the eyes of the man she saved was a constant reminder that she had made the right choice. However, the reality of her job soon imposed itself. In the following days, Dr. Edwards' words echoed in her mind. He was a man who firmly believed in hierarchy and order, and the contempt he showed for any deviation from conduct was evident. Medicine is not a charity game, Sophia. It's a battlefield where survival belongs to the strongest, he had said, his voice firm and authoritative. Those words hit her like a punch in the stomach, and she began to question if she could continue in that environment. Meanwhile, interactions with her colleagues only heightened the tension. Some saw her as a hero, but many considered her a fool. Among them was Clara, an experienced nurse who had always been a friend, but who now seemed reluctant. "You know this could end your career, right? We all have to conform to the system. If you don't do that, you might end up alone," she warned, her expression a mix of concern and disappointment. Sophia looked into Clara's eyes and saw the truth. The friendship they had always shared was being tested. Days turned into weeks, and Sophia's anguish grew. She spent hours reviewing Mr. Fabian's files and his son Nathan's, trying to understand the connection that bound them. With each new discovery, a new dilemma arose. Nathan was an influential executive, someone who could make significant changes in the healthcare system, but who also appeared distant and skeptical about the role of medicine in helping the needy. Sophia struggled with the idea that by getting closer to him, she could access resources that would help save more lives, but that could also mean compromising with a system she was beginning to detest. On one of those reflective nights, Sophia decided to reach out to Nathan. The conversation was tense. He initially seemed indifferent to his father's story, but as Sophia spoke about the surgery and its impact on Fabian's life, she noticed a change in his tone. "You don't get it, do you? My father lived in a world where he was forgotten. He is not a success story. He is a reminder that the system failed. And you, as a doctor, should know that," he said, frustration evident in his voice. Those words struck her deeply. She was trying to do what was right, but Nathan made her question whether her actions truly mattered in a world that seemed so hostile. With each step she took, the weight of responsibility grew heavier, and Sophia began to doubt her own strength. Was it possible to fight against such an entrenched system while maintaining her values and purpose? That night, as she walked alone through the city streets, Sophia encountered a group of young people discussing the challenges they faced. They spoke of dreams and hopes, but also of frustrations and betrayals. The stories she heard inspired her but also left her troubled. The difficulties they faced seemed so distant from her own struggle, yet so close at the same time. It was a reminder that everyone was fighting their battles, each in their own way. That dawn, Sophia decided she could not give up. What was at stake was bigger than her career. It was about the lives and dignity of others. If she truly wanted to make a difference, she would need to confront the challenges head-on, even if it meant losing the approval of her superiors and possibly some friends. Determination began to grow within her, along with the hope that perhaps her choices could inspire others to fight as well. The journey was just beginning, and Sophia knew the obstacles ahead would be tough and painful. But the idea that her struggle could create a real impact on people's lives motivated her to move forward. With that, she began to outline a plan, ready to challenge the system and, perhaps, rewrite her own story. Sophia was determined to change things, but soon realized that this decision would not be easy. The pressure in the hospital increased even more after the incident with Mr. Fabian. Gossip spread like wildfire. The environment that once felt welcoming was now filled with suspicious glances and whispers. With each step she took through the halls, the weight of judgment hung over her. The first twist came during a team meeting, where Dr. Edward could not contain himself. He addressed Sophia's case, and his voice resonated with authority. Dr. Sophia's conduct was reckless and irresponsible. In medicine, there is no room for heroes. We need professionals who follow the guidelines, not those who become martyrs for their own ambitions. His words cut like a blade. Sophia felt her heart race, and heat rushed to her face. Heads turned to her, and the feeling of being on trial consumed her. Clara, who had been supportive until then, appeared hesitant. When Sophia sought her out after the meeting, Clara simply sighed. "Sophia, I understand your point of view, but you need to think about what's at stake. It's not just your career, it's the safety of all of us. Dr. Edward won't hesitate to make an example of you." Clara's words hit her hard, but Sophia's determination began to solidify. She could not let herself be intimidated, but the fear of what could happen made her hesitate. In the following days, the tension between her and her colleagues increased. Some secretly supported her, but others did not hide their disdain. The atmosphere became unbearable, and Sophia began to feel the weight of loneliness. One particularly difficult night, while reviewing patient cases, she received a message from Nathan. He asked to meet and talk. The meeting was tense. Nathan seemed more open, but still carried the frustration he felt toward the system. "You really think you can change anything? The system is robust and full of people like Dr. Edward, who only care about their careers. My father may have been saved, but how many other people are suffering because of thoughtless decisions made by doctors who think they are above good and evil?" The anger and pain in Nathan's words resonated with Sophia. She realized he was also fighting an internal battle, and in a way, they were fighting the same war. Time went by, and Sophia found herself increasingly isolated. She decided she needed allies. She began to gather with other doctors and nurses who shared her concerns about ethics in care and the need for change. These meetings were filled with frustration, but also with hope. It was a small step, but still something that made her feel she was not alone. However, life had its twists. During one of these meetings, one of the doctors, Carlos, made an alarming revelation. A group of hospital executives was considering the possibility of firing employees who disrespected the guidelines. "If you keep this up, Sophia, you might find yourself without a place here," he said, concerned. That news hit her like a bomb. Could the fight for an ideal cost her everything she had achieved? Doubt began to corrode her determination. Furthermore, the sleepless nights began to take their toll. Sophia felt exhausted, both emotionally and physically. The dark circles under her eyes made her more vulnerable, and she realized she was becoming a shadow of the woman she used to be. The stress affected her relationships with friends and family, and conversations became tense and filled with misunderstandings. That hurt her, as she had always valued the connection she had, but now it seemed everyone was distant. In a moment of despair, she decided to seek Clara again. "I'm losing control, Clara. I feel like I'm fighting a monster that can't be defeated." Clara looked at her with compassion, but the truth of her words was still harsh. "Sophia, we are all fighting. But you need to decide if this fight is worth it. Sometimes, it's better to adapt and survive than to risk everything." Clara's response made her question whether she was being selfish by insisting on her fight. Sophia began to reflect on the lessons she was learning. Her journey was not just about medicine, but about who she wanted to be. What truly mattered? Being a respected doctor or making a difference in people's lives? The ethical dilemmas she faced were not just professional but personal. She needed to find a balance between her passion for helping others and the reality of the world she lived in. The choice was in her hands, and as the days grew darker, Sophia knew a decisive moment was approaching. The coming weeks would be crucial, and each decision she made could change the course of her life forever. It was a constant struggle between what she desired and what the world expected of her. And deep down, she knew she needed to confront not only the system but also herself. Sophia was in a period of deep reflection, but before she could make a decision about her future, an unexpected event shook her world. During a night shift, a patient arrived at the hospital in critical condition. He was a young man, a victim of a car accident, and his condition was desperate. The doctors rushed to stabilize him, and Sophia felt her instinct to help rise. She joined the team, determined to do whatever was necessary. As they worked frantically, something changed. The young man, who seemed to be losing the fight for his life, looked at Sophia with a look of desperation. Amidst the chaos, he whispered, "Please, don't let me die." That phrase echoed in Sophia's mind, as if the responsibility for his life was in her hands. She felt a tightening in her chest, and for a brief moment, forgot all the pressures and judgments surrounding her. It was just her and that young man, and the only thing that mattered was saving him. With adrenaline pumping, Sophia took the initiative and suggested a procedure that could be risky, but which she believed was the only chance to save the patient. Dr. Edward was present and hesitated, but the desperate look from the young man made her insist. The team, torn between the fear of disobeying guidelines and the urgency of the situation, looked to Sophia for leadership. She felt the weight of their decisions. Finally, with a reluctant nod, Dr. Edward authorized the procedure. What followed was a whirlwind of emotions. The team worked in perfect sync, and against all odds, the young man began to respond to treatment. When he finally stabilized, a collective sigh of relief swept through the room. Sophia felt a wave of euphoria, but at the same time, a shadow of doubt began to loom over her. What would happen if the consequences of her actions were disastrous? And if in her eagerness to help, she had crossed lines that should not be crossed? In the following days, the hospital buzzed with the young man's recovery. He became a symbol of hope, and Sophia, in turn, gained the admiration of many colleagues. However, the euphoria was quickly replaced by a new reality. Dr. Edward, who initially seemed pleased with the outcome, began to watch every move Sophia made with a critical eye. He summoned her for a meeting. "You were lucky, Dr. Sophia, but we cannot let ourselves be carried away by emotion. What you did was risky and almost cost the patient his life. You need to understand that there are rules for a reason." His words cut deeply. Sophia realized that, despite her success, her decision was still under scrutiny. What had once seemed like a victory now transformed into a test of her morality and ethics. The feeling of accomplishment began to fade, and doubt took its place. She wondered if she had done the right thing. She had saved a life, but at what cost? Was she willing to risk her career and reputation for a moment of impulse? The pressure intensified when the young man, now recovered, returned to the hospital to thank the team. He expressed his gratitude in such a genuine way that it touched everyone's hearts. However, looking at him, Sophia saw not just a rescue, but a representation of her internal struggle. She realized that, although she had acted with good intentions, she was constantly navigating dangerous waters. That night, as she walked through the empty halls, Sophia felt lost. She reflected on her choices and what it truly meant to be a doctor. It was not just about saving lives. It was about doing so in an ethical and respectful manner. The fight against the system seemed to be transforming into an internal battle. She needed to confront her failures, not only in her practice but also in her understanding of what success meant. The revelation shook her. The idea that success could be something different from what she had always imagined began to take shape in her mind. It was not just about being the hero of the day, but about being a professional who could make a difference consistently and responsibly. What really mattered was not the glory of a single act, but the building of a system that could save lives safely and effectively. In that moment of clarity, Sophia realized that she needed to reevaluate her struggle. What did she really want? To be the rebel who challenged the system, or the professional who contributed to an environment where everyone could thrive? The choice lay before her, and for the first time, she felt she could shape her own destiny. The journey would not be easy, but she was willing to face it, not just for herself, but for all those who depended on her. Sophia sat at her desk in the hospital, papers spread out before her, but her mind was far away. The conversation with Dr. Edwards still echoed in her ears. He was right, she thought, but the pain of the criticism cut her deeply. The euphoria she had felt from saving the young man now seemed a distant echo. Instead, the weight of responsibility rested on her shoulders, as if every decision she made could be judged at any moment. In the following days, the atmosphere in the hospital changed. Sophia's colleagues looked at her with a mix of admiration and caution. Some congratulated her quietly, while others whispered about the risks she had taken. This division left her even more confused. She wanted to be seen as a competent doctor, but she also did not want to be the source of controversy. Each time she walked down the corridor, she felt the eyes on her, and the pressure increased. The first night she sat down to review the week's cases was tense. Sophia could not concentrate. In her mind, the image of the young patient haunted her. What if she had failed? What if he had not recovered? The questions tormented her, and amid this internal storm, she realized that not only her career was at stake, but the lives of many others as well. It was then that she decided to seek help from her friend Clara, an experienced nurse who had always supported her. They met at a cafe near the hospital. Clara quickly noticed that something was wrong. Sophia seemed distant. What happened? The doctor hesitated, but the need to vent was stronger. She told Clara everything: the pressure, Dr. Edwards' criticism, and the internal struggle that consumed her. Clara listened attentively, and after a moment of silence, said, "You did what you thought was right. Sometimes, medicine is about taking risks, but it's also important to learn from them." Sophia felt a momentary relief, but soon the doubt returned. What if she made a mistake again? What if next time there wasn't a second chance? The conversation with Clara made her reflect on the need to balance intuition and rules. What was more important, immediate salvation or long-term safety? These questions haunted her, but they also motivated her to seek an answer. In the following days, Sophia began to step away from the impulse to act alone and value collaboration more. She started participating in meetings with the medical team, openly discussing complex cases. Her presence became increasingly respected, but the pressure to prove her worth was still there. Dr. Edwards' gaze followed her every move, and the idea of making a new mistake left her uneasy. One night, while reviewing a case with a resident, Sophia noticed she felt calmer. She shared her ideas, listened to others' suggestions, and surprisingly felt more empowered for it. The young resident, named Lucas, expressed admiration for her determination and commitment to improvement. "You are an inspiration, Dr. Sophia. I am learning a lot from you," he said. Those words touched her, and for the first time, she felt a little of the confidence she thought she had lost. However, the shadow of her decisions still loomed. One day, while reviewing a case, Sophia received a call from the young patient she had saved. He wanted to meet to talk. Her heart raced. What would he say? She was nervous but also excited. The meeting was an opportunity to see how her decision had impacted his life. When they met, the young man, named Daniel, thanked her again, and Sophia felt warmth in her chest. But soon the conversation turned into something deeper. Daniel began to share his insecurities and fears, and how the accident had changed his perspective on life. "I used to take everything for granted, but now I realize that every day is a new chance," he said. His words resonated deeply with Sophia. She realized that life was fragile but also full of possibilities, and that her role as a doctor was to help people see those chances. After that conversation, Sophia felt a renewal of purpose. She decided that instead of letting pressure consume her, she would use her experience to create an environment where everyone felt safe to express their opinions and collaborate. It was a new approach, but she was determined to follow this path. The following weeks were not easy. The internal struggle still existed, but now Sophia felt less alone. She began to work more as a team, seeking the support of her colleagues instead of facing challenges alone. This change, although difficult, began to create a new sense of camaraderie and trust among the team. Sophia was learning that medicine was not just about saving lives in moments of crisis, but also about building a support network and sharing responsibilities. She still had a long way to go, but now she knew she could face challenges with courage and integrity. The turning point in her life was not the end of her struggle, but the beginning of a new journey, richer in learning and connection. Sophia was at a decisive moment in her life. After the intense criticism she received from Dr. Edward, her confidence as a doctor was shaken. The pain of repression and the weight of responsibility followed her like shadows. She felt as if she were in a labyrinth, trying to find her way out, but surrounded by doubts and insecurities. In the days that followed, The atmosphere in the hospital became almost palpable. The gazes of her colleagues were a mix of admiration and concern. While some sent her messages of support, others murmured about the risk she had taken by making such a bold decision. This left her even more confused. Sophia wanted to be seen as a competent doctor, but the fear of becoming a source of controversy paralyzed her. Each step down the corridor felt like a test, and the pressure grew with each moment. The nights were especially difficult. Sitting at her desk, surrounded by papers that seemed to multiply, Sophia could not concentrate. The image of the young patient she had saved, Daniel, haunted her. What if she had been wrong? She questioned herself repeatedly. The uncertainties consumed her, and she realized that her decisions affected not only her career but the lives of many people. In search of relief, she decided she needed to vent. She met with Clara, a nurse who had always supported her. During their conversation, Sophia opened up about her concerns, Dr. Edwards' criticism, and the weight she felt. Clara listened attentively and, after a reflective silence, offered words of encouragement. "You did what you thought was right. Sometimes, medicine is about taking risks, but it's essential to learn from them." These words echoed in Sophia's mind, but doubt still plagued her. "What if I make a mistake again?" she questioned. The conversation made her realize that she needed to change her approach. Over time, she began to value collaboration more. Participating in meetings with the medical team became a priority. Sharing ideas, listening to suggestions, and discussing complex cases together helped her feel more integrated. With each interaction, her confidence began to return, and she realized she was not alone on this journey. One night, a young resident, Lucas, praised her determination and commitment to improvement. "You are an inspiration, Dr. Sophia. I am learning so much from you," he said. His words touched her, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a spark of confidence reignite. This interaction was a turning point. Sophia began to understand that her value was not only in her technical skills but also in her ability to inspire and connect with others. An unexpected encounter with Daniel brought a new perspective. He sought her out to express his gratitude and share how the accident had changed his life. "Now, I see each day as a new chance," he said. Daniel's words resonated deeply with Sophia. She realized that life is fragile but also full of opportunities. This motivated her to embrace her role as a doctor in a more meaningful way. Over time, Sophia committed to creating a collaborative environment where everyone felt comfortable expressing their opinions and working as a team. This new approach began to transform the dynamics of the hospital. The weeks that followed were challenging, but she felt less alone. The support of her colleagues became vital, and the camaraderie built among them brought a fresh sense of energy. Sophia was learning that medicine was not just about saving lives in critical moments, but also about building connections and sharing responsibilities. Despite still feeling the weight of pressure, the internal transformation she was experiencing began to shape her perspective. Overcoming her insecurities and accepting help from her colleagues became crucial steps in her journey. With each new challenge, Sophia applied the lessons she had learned. Daniel's accident and the difficulties she faced made her stronger and more aware. She began to realize that true success was not just about being the best doctor, but about being present and making a difference in the lives of those around her. Sophia's journey was not just about her own victories, but about the positive impact she could have on others' lives. Looking back, Sophia saw not just a path filled with obstacles, but a trajectory of growth and transformation. She had found not only the courage to face her fears, but also the wisdom to understand that medicine is a collective effort where every voice matters and every life counts. With the support of her friends and colleagues, She was ready to continue her journey, stronger and more confident than ever. Sophia was about to face the most challenging test of her career. After months of learning and transformation, the confidence she had begun to rebuild would be tested in unexpected ways. An outbreak of hospital-acquired infections erupted among the patients, and the hospital was on high alert. All eyes were on the medical team, and the pressure mounted with each passing day. Sophia knew that her leadership would be crucial, but anxiety overwhelmed her. On a Friday morning, while reviewing patient charts, an urgent call interrupted her thoughts. One of the most critical patients, an elderly man named S.U. Antonio, had suddenly worsened. The team quickly gathered. Dr. Edward, who was still an intimidating figure for Sophia, was present. She felt her heart race. "If we don't act quickly, we might lose S.U. Antonio," the nurse warned. The urgency on her colleagues' faces brought the weight of her responsibilities to the forefront. Sophia took a deep breath, recalling the lessons she had learned along the way. Instead of succumbing to fear, she decided it was time to act. "We need a clear plan," she said firmly. "Let's divide the tasks, and each of us will do what we do best." Surprised looks turned toward her, but they were quickly replaced by nods of acceptance. In that moment, Sophia was not just a doctor, she was a leader. As the team organized, Sophia observed Dr. Edward. He seemed intrigued by her approach. The teamwork was beginning to show results. Clara, the nurse who had always supported her, joined her in monitoring S.U. Antonio's vital signs. The following hours were intense, with each team member contributing their skills. The atmosphere was charged with tension but also with hope. Finally, after a long period of work, the team managed to stabilize S.U. Antonio. The emergency room fell into a tense silence, broken only by the sound of the heart monitor. Sophia felt relieved, but there was still much to do. The infection had spread rapidly, and the hospital could not let its guard down. She recalled Daniel's words about seeing each day as a new chance. It was time to act with determination. With the help of the team, Sophia began implementing preventive measures, emphasizing the importance of hygiene and collaboration. She remembered her own mistakes and the courage she had developed along the way. The experience taught her that vulnerability was not weakness, but an opportunity for growth. The team began to unite, sharing ideas and solutions. Every small advancement became a reason to celebrate. The next night, while reviewing records, Sophia received a message from Lucas, the young resident. He wrote, "Dr. Sophia, you inspired us to work together and face this challenge. Thank you for your leadership." His words touched her heart. She realized that true strength lay in her ability to bring people together and create a supportive environment. However, the battle against the infection was not over. On Sunday morning, a new patient, a young woman named Larissa, arrived with severe symptoms. The hospital was overwhelmed, and time was of the essence. Sophia felt a knot in her stomach but decided she could not hesitate. She remembered S.U. Antonio and how teamwork had made a difference. "Let's save Larissa," she said, looking into her colleague's eyes. "We need to act quickly and accurately." The team quickly mobilized, and once again, teamwork was the key. Sophia coordinated the efforts but also encouraged everyone to give their best. Dr. Edward, who was observing, began to recognize the change in Sophia. The confidence she displayed was now contagious. They managed to stabilize Larissa, and by the end of the day, the young woman was in recovery. The team erupted in applause, and Sophia felt a wave of emotion. Amid the joy, Sophia realized that it was not just about saving lives but about building bonds and learning together. The hospital had become a space where voices united for a common goal. The tense atmosphere that had previously hung in the air began to dissipate, giving way to a feeling of camaraderie and overcoming challenges. With each challenge faced, Sophia had become not just a doctor but a respected leader. She had learned to embrace her failures and turn them into opportunities for growth. In that moment, surrounded by her team, she smiled, knowing that despite the ups and downs, she had found her place in medicine. True success was not in individual victories but in the ability to unite forces and make a difference in people's lives. After intense days of work, the epidemic of infections in the hospital began to subside. Sophia watched with a mix of relief and gratitude as patients recovered. Each smile from a patient, each thank you from a family, was a reminder of the impact her team was having. However, the pressure from the previous days still weighed heavily on her shoulders. It was necessary to reflect on everything that had happened. One morning, while walking through the hospital corridors, Sophia encountered Clara. The nurse was organizing some materials, but her expression showed fatigue. Clara stopped to look into Sophia's eyes and said, "Dr. Sophia, we can't deny that it was a difficult time. But you showed yourself to be an incredible leader. I've never seen the team so united." Sophia smiled but soon felt a lump in her throat. "Thank you, Clara. I only did what was necessary. But to be honest, I'm still recovering from the fear I felt at the beginning. I never thought I could lead like this." Clara shook her head. "You not only led but also gave us confidence. Dealing with pressure is not easy, but you made us believe that together we could overcome any challenge." Clara's acknowledgement made Sophia think. She realized that she had changed. The insecurities that had accompanied her before began to fade. She was no longer just a doctor. She now felt part of something bigger, a true team. However, the memory of the challenges was still fresh, and Sophia knew that the fight against the infection had not been in vain. In the break room, Lucas, the young resident, joined them. "Dr. Sophia, I wrote a report on the measures we implemented during the epidemic. Can we discuss it? I think we can improve our approach even further," he suggested enthusiastically. Sophia was surprised by Lucas's initiative. "Of course, let's meet after lunch. I'm interested in your ideas." She felt a wave of pride. The young resident was becoming a more confident professional, and part of that was the result of the new dynamic created within the team. During the meeting, Lucas presented his suggestions. He spoke about the importance of communication and maintaining a safe and welcoming environment for everyone. The other team members agreed and began to share their own experiences. It was a moment of collective learning, and Sophia realized that each person there had something valuable to contribute. At the end of the meeting, Sophia said, "What we've experienced in the last few days has taught us that no matter how difficult the situation is, together we are stronger. Let's continue to support each other and grow. Each of you has an essential role here, and I want everyone to feel heard." After the meeting, Sophia sat alone in her office. She looked out the window and contemplated the blue sky. She remembered the first time she entered that hospital, filled with doubts and uncertainties. Now, looking back, she felt grateful for the experiences that had shaped her. The journey had not been easy, but it had been transformative. The next day, as she prepared for another shift, Sophia received a message from Mr. Antonio. He had fully recovered and wanted to thank her in person. He wrote, "You gave me hope when I needed it most. It's thanks to you and your team that I am here today." These words touched Sophia deeply. She realized that even in the most difficult situations, there was a purpose. Each patient, each story, was a reminder of why she chose this profession. Medicine was not just about treating illnesses, but also about touching lives. At the hospital, Things began to normalize. The team was more cohesive, and a spirit of collaboration had been established. Meetings became frequent, and everyone felt more comfortable sharing their ideas and concerns. Sophia saw the transformation not only in herself but also in those around her. On a sunny afternoon, while walking through the corridors, Sophia encountered Dr. Edward. "You really stood out in the past few days, Sophia. I'm impressed with your leadership ability," he said, with a genuine smile. Sophia felt that his words were an important acknowledgement. "Thank you, Dr. Edward. I've learned that strength lies in unity. Each of us has a role to play." He nodded. "Yes, and that's something we need to carry forward. The hospital needs more leaders like you." Sophia smiled, feeling a wave of gratitude. What had begun as an immense challenge was now an opportunity for growth. She knew there would still be obstacles ahead, but she was ready to face them, with the team by her side. The journey was just beginning, but now, she was sure that she could make a difference. Sophia observed the transformation around her, both in the hospital and within herself. The experience of the epidemic not only strengthened the team but also made her realize the true power of collaboration. As the days passed, the lessons she learned became part of her. She now understood that leading was not just about giving orders but about inspiring and creating an environment where everyone felt valued. After the patient's recovery, the hospital began to face new challenges. But for the first time, Sophia felt confident. She knew she had a united team by her side, capable of facing any obstacle. Working together became a daily practice. The healthcare professionals started meeting regularly, discussing not only the difficulties but also the victories and lessons learned. One morning, while having coffee in the break room, Clara approached Sophia. "Dr. Sophia, do you remember how it all started? I remember the fear we all felt at the beginning. Now we are a strong and cohesive team. This is incredible." Clara smiled, and Sophia saw that, like her colleague had also transformed. Sophia's journey taught her that true success is not just about curing diseases but about touching lives. The smile of Mr. Antonio still echoed in her mind, and each patient's gratitude became a reminder of the importance of her work. She realized that by helping others, she also helped herself grow. The hospital became a place of constant learning. Lucas, the young resident, became a leader in his own way, giving voice to new ideas and generating productive discussions. The team was more engaged than ever, and the culture of support and respect spread. Sophia knew that the strength of the group was key to facing any adversity. Over time, the hospital not only recovered but also became an example of resilience and unity. Sophia began to be invited to lectures and training sessions, sharing her experiences and the importance of teamwork. Every time she spoke, she felt that she was not only helping other professionals but also recalling her own journey. The fear and insecurity that accompanied her at the beginning were replaced by confidence and determination. And so, Sophia realized that her true transformation was not just about her skills as a doctor but about how she connected with people. The friendship and support of the team shaped her into a better leader, and this made her understand that personal growth is often driven by the connections we form. With a heart full of gratitude, Sophia decided that each new challenge would be a new opportunity to unite and learn. She was ready to face whatever came her way, knowing she was not alone. Reflecting on this journey, Sophia felt emotional. Life is made of ups and downs, but what really matters are the relationships we build and how we face difficulties. With a smile on her face, she decided that her next step would be to share this message with everyone around her. If you have also gone through challenges and transformed through them, share your experience in the comments. Let's celebrate victories, big or small, together. Like and subscribe to the channel so we can continue this conversation and bring more inspiring stories. Every interaction helps spread the message of unity and overcoming. Now it's time to take action and share your own journey. Let's do this together.